So I'm pretty interested in how does it work and
Me
how does
too.
it apply. And he's going to tell us now how do we do that. And because it's the first session of the day and we are a little bit, still cold, I'm going to ask you a super warm applause to welcome him on the stage. Please. Great, Alan.
Thank you very much.
All yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I have a question for you. You all know this device. Who of you has not upgraded this, so has not upgraded this in the last 5 years? Show hands, please. Oh, that is shocking. Let me get back to that. One back. Here we are. So, I'm always a bit ahead in technology. I started an electric vehicle charging business in 2007, and that was way too early. And what I noticed back then is that the key is usually not the technology. The key, in reality, is us, humans. And we'll see that in the age of AI, why humans will be very important. I'm not going to talk to you about AI, because you can find it anywhere. But I can talk to you about humans. I'm one of them, I know. But there's an interesting paradox here, because we're in the age of the smartest technology you have ever seen. AI. And AI also getting into the physical world in robotics. So robots that are AI operated. Very fastly moving. And that's interesting because that is going so fast, but we run it on an operating system that's over 300,000 years old. Is that the smartest thing to do? Well, you can discuss that, but there are at least some things you have to be aware of when you're doing that. And for that awareness, I would like to take you to a research done on judges, Israeli parole judges. And the fun thing was, what they did was look at their sentences, so the verdicts they were giving out. And they found a lot of stuff, but the most interesting part of that was not on law. What was interesting they found on that research was that actually it depends the time of day when you appear before the judges. If you see the judge just after lunch, you have a 65% chance of actually being released on parole. And now I ask you, how much percentage do you get just before lunch? Well, this is a shocker. 0%. It's the same person thinking they are doing the best they can, a judge, a qualified person, but just for lunch, you don't stand a chance. And that's something we can directly translate to us. And we should. And there's the other thing. Who of you is paying for an AI? Show of hands, please. Ooh, that's quite a lot of people. And by the looking at the fitness of the audience here, a lot of you guys are also paying for a gym membership, right? Yeah, I see you. I see you. But who of you are actively putting money down, investing in your brain? And then I don't say investing in the way of putting more in it, like learning stuff, teaching yourself all kinds of stuff, listening to yet another podcast, but what are you actually doing on the health of your own brain? And then probably the show of hands are a lot lower in that case. You don't have to answer this one, right? So for me, there's a clear view of where this should go. AI is helping us to improve on a ton of stuff. It's really great at inventing things, and it helps you out in all kinds of creative stuff. But what I notice is that most people try and use it then all the day, the entire day. And what goes away are the human moments. The moments near a coffee machine. The moments when you take a walk in the park. Because now these days you're like, yeah, I should look this up on my AI tool, right? And if AI is giving us so much opportunity to reduce our working day, then why aren't we reducing our working day? Why do we keep cramming more stuff into our day? Shouldn't we be more human? I believe so. So what do I do to actually be aware of what's happening with me? Well, I use a ton of tricks. And the fun thing is, technology is great at that, and also not that expensive anymore, which is fun. So, of course, you've seen like Aura Ring that tracks my sleep. Great to know how you're doing. The other thing is that you see here up the screen, I do a very regular brain scan on myself. And this brain scan is just a basic EEG scan, and it tells you a ton of stuff of how you're doing. Are you stressed? What's your favorite ways of thinking? What's your way of operating in the world? And also, it helps you choose where you can grow the fastest, because, well, you have these parents when they have a child, and the child has a report card and they have 7 8s and 1 4. Where are the parents going to focus on the 4? But the child will suffer on the 4, right? It's better to get one of the 8s to the 10. So much easier for the child, a lot funnier as well. What I also do is a lot of journaling, and I also talk to my inner self. There's a man here in the corner that actually taught me to do that, and that has been a revelation for me. And that's great, that's my notebook on how things work. But how can you use this kind of stuff? Well, like I said, I started out everything by measuring my sleep quality. Because that's really where all the first differences are starting. If you don't get a decent night of sleep, just forget about the rest. It just doesn't matter. Sleep first, then the other stuff. And why is that important? Well, there's been this research, actually I'll mention two. There's one that has scanned people during one night of sleep, hooking them up to brain scans, to all kinds of stuff, and then they found that you can get insights. Now you can predict 130 future diseases that will happen to that person with over 80% of accuracy. And that's a shocker, right? And the smart thing is, how can you reduce almost all of those possibilities of those diseases getting to you? Sleep more. If you don't get at least 7 hours of decent sleep, you should increase that. And if you're a lady, please add 1 hour more. Sorry, ladies need a bit more sleep. Also, the other research, that's really a shocker. That shows that if you have been sleep deprived for over 6 hours, and that's basically killing 1 or 2 nights, you have the same cognitive performance as a drunk person. Let that sink in. Because I know amongst you are people who have been dealing with sleep depravity and are actually running around this world in mode drunk. people stopped that. We don't allow drunk people drive cars, and you came here driving a car while being sleepy drunk. Horrible. The other thing is your daytime. It is now so easy to fill up every second of your day with your mobile. You get out of a meeting, and the first thing you do is grab your mobile and look at it. But where is the time for your brain to first relax, because you just came out of the meeting? Where do you give space for your brain to actually process what has been happening there? If you fill up every second of the day with that, there's just no way of processing it. So, if you don't do it during the day, you had to do it during the night. If you don't do it during the night, when? It's really where you should take care of yourself. And then tracking all this stuff. Why don't you just track a bit of that? And I'm not saying going overboard and totally relying on all the data that you can get in from you, because it can also get another level of stress to you. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just awareness of how you are dealing with this. So, I invite you to connect to me on LinkedIn. If you feel like having a brain scan, like what's that? Connect to, if you go to desk.mindmirror.io, you can actually click on the link, so that's a lot easier than to grab all this other stuff. So you can get a brain scan done. Actually, I'll be doing a few here on later during the day or tomorrow at the DES event. So feel welcome to try and do that. One of the other things that I talked about is being a very personal part of being an entrepreneur. And together with Hesham over there, I started a project where we help founders and CEOs who feel very isolated to get out of that isolation by an interesting thought that's called Empactief. Check the website if you want to know more about this. Then there's Oscar sitting there. He's the author of a forthcoming book that's called The Human OS Manual. See any similarities? I have been focusing on sleep and brain scans, but this guy also puts people in these tubs with a lot of ice water and really the resilience guy. So he looks at a far broader spectrum of that. Really interesting. The book will launch, I think, October-ish. So jot it down and get to your bookshop in time to grab that book. And I'd also like to thank the members here in the in public that are part of Power Talks Malaga. That's a Toastmasters group we run here. Thank you very much. That helps people in Malaga prepare for doing talks like this on stage, talks like if you need to make a toast on a birthday party, whatever. And you're also very welcome to join those. So I want to leave you with one last thing. That's a question I don't ask to you, but that you could ask to anybody in your life the next few days. And that's a really simple one. The next time when you're talking to someone, ask them, hey, how have you slept? How was your night? Because if you're getting into an argument with someone and they are like totally irrational, that's not their fault if they're like on a 3-hour night. Just relax with them and don't step into the argument. So it's a really simple question. People won't feel offended. You bring a bit of awareness to yourself and also to the people you love, you work with, anyone.
Super interesting, very well done. I just want to grab you a couple of minutes, first of all, because I didn't say this before, but it's true that Robert Jan and I have a lot of things in common. he studies brain on the neuroscience side. I studied brain, and I studied brain through the influence approach. You know, I work with Robert Cialdini, the father of the persuasive communication, and I wanted to ask you just a very quick one. Women, we have found out that we need 1 hour more. Does it mean that our brain is more powerful?
I want to survive this stage.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's more powerful, but it has been scientifically proven that women have more connections between all the parts of the brain.
So we need more time to put that connections to work.
No, just because there's more energy going on there, you need a bit more time to process it.
Okay, if you have to give one advice to all these people here, on top of we need to sleep more, which I think we all know, but as always, we know but we don't do. What can you tell us to do in order to achieve that objective?
Go to sleep earlier. It sounds stupid, it's very horrible to do in Spain because people start eating at 11, but get to sleep earlier.
That's very easy to say for a Dutch guy. I mean, it's fine, you don't do
I
that.
went to sleep at 3 o'clock in the night before. I really chose, I am on a mission to get to 150 years old and 35-year-old body, then you have to take the consequences that are part of that.
Okay, and what happens if you are over 35 already?
No, I want to get to 150 years old.
Yeah.
So my body is slowly getting younger now.
Oh, because you sleep?
Because I sleep, because I do my brain scan, I listen to what's happening there, all that stuff helps.
That's true that thank you very much for your talk, because I think it's very relevant to enhance the importance of eating the brain. The brain is more than a muscle. It's the machine that really works with the body. So it's really important to understand how it works. And the thing is, we didn't know that much so many years ago because we had to open, heads, and it was very difficult to really study the brain before. But now we have the ways and we have the means to really study it. And it's very interesting. And all of us, we have a brain, and just one. So,
Two.
okay, well, the connection, the two, okay. So thank you very much, Jan. Robert, Jan, it's been a pleasure.